Jack Reeves stared out the viewport of the Earthship Intrepid. The stars looked the same as they did from his home in rural Ohio, but Jack knew he was farther from Earth than any of his family had ever traveled. At 19, he was the youngest cadet in the United Earth Defense Fleet. Jack was small for his age, with messy brown hair and bright blue eyes that missed nothing when it came to machines. Jack was not supposed to be on this mission. His assignment to the Intrepid was a last-minute change when another cadet got sick. Now he stood at the back of the bridge, trying to stay out of everyone's way while still watching everything. "Cadet Reeves, stop daydreaming," said Lieutenant Alan Peters, not looking up from his screen. "Those equipment reports won't file themselves." "Yes, sir." "Sorry, sir," Jack said, turning back to his datapad. He was halfway through checking the inventory of spare parts when the ship's alarms began to sound. "Captain Martinez to the bridge," said the computer voice. "Unknown object detected." The bridge crew moved with purpose as Captain Olivia Martinez entered. She was a tall woman with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. Everyone respected her 15 years of service in the fleet. "Report," she said, taking her seat in the command chair. "Large object on long-range sensors, Captain," said Senior Officer Nicole Bailey. "It's moving fast and seems to be damaged. There's a trail of debris behind it." "Show me," ordered Captain Martinez, the main screen filled with the image of a massive ship. It was unlike anything Jack had ever seen. The ship was at least 3 times the size of the Intrepid, with a design that looked like flowing water frozen in metal. Parts of it were broken, with blue energy leaking out into space. "It's heading toward the moon of Arcturus 4, said Officer Bailey. "At current speed, it will crash in about 2 hours. Captain Martinez stood up, her face serious. "Any life signs?" "Yes, Captain, many, but they're different from human readings." The bridge went quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. This was an alien ship. Humans had been in space for only 80 years and had never met another intelligent species. "Set course to intercept," ordered Captain Martinez, "and call all senior staff to the meeting room." Jack was not senior staff, but he was told to bring equipment to the meeting. He stood in the back, listening as the captain laid out the plan. "This is what we've trained for," she said. "First contact with an alien species. But this isn't how anyone imagined it would happen. These aliens are in trouble, and we're going to help them." The science officer, Dr. Frank Wilson, showed scans of the alien ship. "Their main engines are dead. Some kind of energy system at the center of the ship is failing. When it goes, the whole ship will explode. Can we evacuate them to the Intrepid?" asked Lieutenant Peters. Dr. Wilson shook his head. "There are thousands of them. Our ship can't hold that many. And we don't know if they can breathe our air." "Then we help them fix their ship," said Captain Martinez. "I want a boarding team ready in 30 minutes. Dr. Wilson, you'll lead with Lieutenant Peters. Take engineers Samantha Kelly and Daniel Wright. And bring Cadet Reeves to carry equipment." Jack felt his heart jump. He was going on the mission. He knew he was only being brought along as extra hands, but he didn't care. He would be among the first humans to meet aliens. The team got ready in the shuttle bay. They wore spacesuits with clear helmets so the aliens could see their faces. Jack helped load tools and scanners onto the shuttle. His hands were shaking with excitement. The flight to the alien ship took 20 minutes. As they got closer, Jack could see how bad the damage was. Whole sections of the beautiful ship were torn open to space. "Look at the size of it," whispered Engineer Kelly. She was a woman in her 30s with short blonde hair and quick hands. "Their technology must be far beyond ours." The shuttle pilot received permission to dock at what seemed to be an entry port. The team waited as the air pressure equalized, then opened the door. They were met by tall, thin beings with skin that looked like clear crystal. Light moved through their bodies in patterns. Behind them floated cloud-like beings that changed colors as they moved. Dr. Wilson stepped forward, hands raised to show he was peaceful. "We come from the planet Earth. We are here to help." One of the crystal beings stepped forward. Its voice came from a small device at its neck, translated into rough English. "I am Commander Zelix of the Vexery. This ship is the luminous convergence of the Galactic Concord. We thank you for your assistance, Earth beings, though I doubt you can help with our problem. Commander Zelix led them through the ship. The halls were tall and wide, filled with light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. They passed many crystal beings, Vexery, and the cloud-like aliens that Zelix called Nubari. They reached a huge room at the center of the ship. In the middle was a column of blue light that flickered and sparked. "This is our quantum resonance core," explained Zelix. "It powers everything on the ship. We hit a quantum filament storm that damaged the stabilizers. Without them, the core will collapse in less than 6 hours. All of us will die. Can you repair it?" asked Lieutenant Peters. Zelix made a sound like breaking glass, which Jack guessed was a sad laugh. "With our current tools and methods, repairs would take centuries. We have already sent distress calls, but no other Concord ships are close enough." As the others discussed the problem, Jack looked around the room. The technology was strange, but something about the way the energy flowed reminded him of the fusion engines back home. He moved closer to the core, studying how it was built. Dr. Wilson and the others were talking about evacuation plans when Jack spoke up. "Excuse me, but I think I see the problem." Everyone turned to look at him. Zelix's crystal body flashed with red light. You are clearly the youngest of your kind here. What could you possibly understand about our technology?" Jack pointed to the base of the core. "Those stabilizers aren't aligned properly. They're off by just a tiny bit, but it's causing the energy to flow unevenly." "Of course they're not aligned," said Zelix. "That's the damage I told you about. It would take centuries of precise work to realign them correctly." Jack shook his head. "Not if you use a different approach. On Earth, we fix similar problems in our fusion plants all the time." Captain Martinez was called over the radio. Jack explained what he saw, expecting her to tell him to be quiet. Instead, she said, "Bring everyone back to the Intrepid. Let's discuss this properly." As they walked back to the shuttle, Engineer Wright patted Jack on the shoulder. "Kid, I think you just got yourself into something big." Jack looked back at the dying ship. "I just hope I can help," he said quietly. "I really think I can fix it." Back on the Intrepid, the meeting room was crowded. Captain Martinez sat at the head of the table with the human team on one side and the alien visitors on the other. Commander Zelix sat with 2 other Vexery, their crystal bodies shimmering with different colors. 3 Nubari floated near the ceiling, their cloud-like forms changing from blue to green to purple. "Let me understand the situation clearly," said Captain Martinez. "Your ship will lose power in less than 6 hours. After that, life support will fail and your crew will die?" "That is correct," said Zelix. His voice from the translator sounded flat and mechanical. "The quantum resonance core is failing. Without it, nothing on our ship works." "And you say repairs would take centuries?" asked Lieutenant Peters. One of the other Vexery spoke up. Her name was Science Director Nilara. "The stabilizers must be realigned with perfect precision. Each one is made of quantum crystal that must be grown atom by atom. Even with our most skilled engineers, the process would take 300 years at minimum." Jack sat at the far end of the table. He wasn't supposed to speak, but he couldn't help himself. "What if you didn't need to regrow the crystals?" he asked. "What if you could just realign what's already there?" Everyone turned to look at him. Captain Martinez frowned but nodded for him to continue. Jack stood up and walked to the display. "Screen, may I?" he asked, pointing to the controls. Engineer Kelly moved aside so Jack could use the screen. He pulled up the scans they had taken of the alien ship's core. "Look here," he said, zooming in on the base of the core. "The main problem isn't that the crystals are broken. They're just out of alignment. It's like a watch with gears that have slipped." The third Vexery, who had been introduced as Chief Engineer Viran, flashed bright orange. "Young human, you cannot simply slip quantum crystals back into place. They exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Their alignment must be perfect across all quantum states." Jack nodded. "I understand that. But what if we use your ship's own gravity systems to create a controlled field that would pull the crystals back into alignment naturally?" The room went silent. The Nubari changed to a deep purple color and made soft whistling sounds to each other. Science Director Nilara finally spoke. That approach has never been attempted. The calculations would be extremely complex. I can do the calculations, said Jack. The principle is similar to how we calibrate our own fusion cores on Earth. Impossible, said Commander Zelix. Your species has barely achieved interstellar travel. The Vexari have been traveling between stars for 50,000 years. Our engineering principles are far beyond your understanding. Jack didn't back down. With respect, Commander, sometimes a fresh perspective helps. Your way of fixing the problem might take centuries because that's how you've always done it. But we humans had to find faster ways because we don't live as long as you do. Captain. Martinez stood up. Cadet Reeves, you're speaking out of turn. Sorry, Captain, said Jack, stepping back. I just think I can help. Captain Martinez looked at him for a long moment, then turned to the aliens. Commander Zelix, my cadet believes he has a solution. How much time do we have before your ship reaches critical failure? 5 hours and 22 minutes, said Zelix. And how long would it take to evacuate your crew to the nearest safe planet? Zelix's body dimmed. At least 8 hours with your ship's help. Many would die. Captain Martinez nodded. Then we have nothing to lose by letting Cadet Reeves try his approach. She turned to Jack. How long would you need? Jack looked at the scans again, thinking hard. 30 minutes, he said finally. Maybe less if I have help? The Vexari all flashed bright red, a sign of shock or disbelief. The Nubari turned yellow and made sounds like wind chimes. 30 minutes? Repeated Commander. Zelix, that is not possible. You speak nonsense. Let him try, said Captain Martinez firmly. If he fails, we'll still work on evacuation. Cadet Reeves, what do you need? Jack thought quickly. I need Engineer Kelly for the quantum field calculations. Chief Wright for the physical adjustments. And I need access to our tools and some equipment from the Intrepid's engine room. Done, said the captain. You have my authorization to use whatever you need. Lieutenant Peters, help them gather the equipment. The meeting broke up quickly. Jack found himself surrounded by his team as they headed to collect their tools. Kid, are you sure about this? Asked Chief Wright. He was an older man with gray hair and strong hands covered in old scars from years of mechanical work. These aliens have technology we've never seen before. I'm sure about the principle, said Jack. The details. We'll figure those out as we go. Engineer Kelly was already working on a datapad. The quantum field equations are complex, but I think your idea has merit. If we modify our gravity tools to work on their crystals. Lieutenant Peters led them to the engine room where they collected tools and parts. Jack selected several devices used for calibrating the ship's fusion core, plus some basic mechanical tools. These aliens think. It will take centuries, said Peters. What makes you so sure you can do it in half an hour? Jack looked at the lieutenant. Because we have to, he said simply. Those people will die if we don't try. 20 minutes later, they were back on the alien ship. The situation had gotten worse. The core was flickering more rapidly, and alarms were sounding throughout the ship. Commander Zelix led them to the core room. Many Vexari engineers stood watching with what seemed like sadness as their ship died around them. We have evacuated non-essential personnel to the safer sections, said Zelix. You may attempt your ... repair. The way he said the word made it clear he didn't believe it was possible. Jack set down his tools and looked up at the massive core. It towered above them, beautiful but failing. Blue energy sparked and jumped in dangerous patterns. Engineer Kelly, please start the field calculations, said Jack. Chief Wright, help me modify these gravity tools to interface with their systems. As they worked, the Vexari engineers watched with confusion and some interest. One of them, a younger crystal, being moved closer to see what Jack was doing. Your tools are so primitive, said the young Vexari. Jack smiled as he connected wires to a control panel. Sometimes the simplest tools are the best ones for the job. You truly believe you can fix our core? Asked the Vexari. Jack looked up at the flickering energy. They had less than 5 hours before disaster. I have to try, he said, and I think I can do it. He stood up with his modified tool in hand. Let's get started. Jack stood in the core room of the alien ship with his tools spread out on the floor. The blue energy from the failing core made shadows dance across the walls. Engineer Kelly was typing fast on her datapad while Chief Wright connected human tools to alien systems. "I have the quantum field calculations," said Engineer Kelly, "but they're like nothing I've seen before. The core exists in 5 dimensions at once." Jack looked over her shoulder at the numbers. "Can we create a gravity field that will affect all 5 dimensions?" Kelly nodded slowly. "I think so. But we'll need to modify our gravity tools to a frequency that matches their quantum crystals." Chief Wright held up a small device that looked like a metal box with dials. "This gravity modulator should work if we can sync it to their systems." The young Vexery who had spoken to Jack earlier moved closer. "I am Junior Engineer Liren. Perhaps I can help with the connection to our systems." Commander Zelix flashed red. "Liren, you will step back and observe only." Jack smiled at Liren. "We could use the help. The faster we connect our tools, the sooner we can start repairs." Commander Zelix made a sound like breaking glass but did not object further. Liren stepped forward and showed Jack how to access the ship's computer systems. "Your approach is strange to us," said Liren. "We would normally dismantle the entire core and rebuild it crystal by crystal." "That's the difference in how we think," said Jack as he worked. "Humans don't have the time for perfect solutions. We find ways to fix things quickly because we have to." With Liren's help, they connected the human tools to the alien ship's systems. Engineer Kelly fed her calculations into the gravity modulator, while Chief Wright prepared the physical tools they would need. "We'll only get one shot at this," said Chief Wright. "If we create the wrong gravity field, the core could collapse completely." Jack nodded. "I know. That's why we need to be precise." He turned to Commander Zelix. "We're ready to begin. I need everyone to stand back." The Vexery engineers moved away from the core. The Nubari floated near the ceiling, their cloud forms turning dark blue with worry. Jack took a deep breath and activated the gravity modulator. The device hummed and vibrated in his hands. A faint ripple appeared in the air around the core. "Gravity field is forming," said Engineer Kelly, watching her datapad. "Reaching quantum alignment levels in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jack turned a dial on the modulator. The ripple in the air became stronger, bending light around the core. The blue energy flashes became faster, more erratic. "Something's wrong," said Chief Wright. "The crystals aren't responding." Jack checked the readings. "The frequency is off. We need to adjust it." He turned to Liren. "What's the exact resonance frequency of Vexery quantum crystals?" Liren's body pulsed with green light. "It's not a fixed frequency. It changes based on the crystals, age and composition." Jack thought quickly. "Then we need to find the right frequency by testing." "Kelly, can you program the modulator to cycle through frequencies?" "Yes, but it will take time," she said, already typing. "We don't have time," said Jack. He looked at the modulator, then at the core. "I need to adjust it manually while monitoring the crystals." Commander Zelix stepped forward. "That is too dangerous. The energy discharges could kill you instantly." "I'll be careful," said Jack. He picked up the modulator and moved closer to the core. The energy was wilder now, with blue sparks jumping out several feet from the core. Jack held the modulator in front of him and slowly turned the frequency. "Dial. Tell me when you see the crystals responding," he called to LIR, and Jack moved the dial slowly. Nothing happened. He moved it more. Still nothing. The core was getting more unstable with each passing minute. "We're running out of time," said Engineer Kelly. "The core will reach critical failure in less than 4 hours." Jack kept turning the dial, moving through frequencies. Suddenly, a small section of crystals at the base of the core glowed brighter. "There!" shouted Liren. "That section responded." Jack locked the frequency and moved closer to the responsive crystals. "Now we need to focus the gravity field on just these crystals." He adjusted the modulator to narrow its field. The responsive crystals began to shift slightly, moving back toward their proper alignment. "It's working," said Chief Wright. But then the crystals stopped moving. Jack checked the modulator. We need more power. The gravity field isn't strong enough. We can connect it to the ship's power systems, suggested Liren. No, said Commander Zelix. That could accelerate the core failure. Jack looked around and saw power cables from their shuttle. We'll use our own power source. He turned to Chief Wright. Connect the shuttle's power cells to the modulator. Chief Wright ran to get the power cells. While waiting, Jack studied the core structure more carefully. The problem is bigger than I thought, he said to Engineer Kelly. All these crystal groups need to be aligned, not just one section. That would take hours with this method, said Kelly. Jack shook his head. Not if we find the master alignment crystal. In our fusion cores, there's always one central element that controls the alignment of all others. Liren's body glowed bright yellow. The harmony crystal. Yes, we have such a component at the center of the core structure. Can you show me where it is? Asked Jack. Liren pointed to a spot deep within the core structure, hidden behind layers of energy and crystal. There, but you cannot reach it without disassembling the entire core. Jack smiled. Maybe not the Vexari way, but there's a human way. He looked at the tools they had brought. We need to make a tool that can reach through the energy field and tap the harmony crystal directly. Chief Wright returned with the power cells. As he connected them to the modulator, Jack explained. His new plan? You want to hit the central crystal? Asked Commander Zelix, his body flashing multiple colors in alarm. That is madness. The harmony crystal is the most delicate component in the entire ship. Not hit it, explained Jack. Just tap it with precisely the right force at exactly the right angle, like tuning a musical instrument. Jack and Chief Wright worked quickly to build a long tool with a padded end. They attached sensors to measure the exact force and angle. This goes against everything in Vexari engineering, said Commander Zelix. We never force components into alignment. We grow them perfectly from the start. That's a great approach when you have sentries, said Jack. But right now, we have less than 4 hours and a ship full of people who will die if we don't try something different. Jack connected the new tool to the gravity modulator. Engineer Kelly finished her calculations for the precise tap needed. Ready? Asked Jack, looking at his team. They all nodded. Here goes nothing, said Jack. He activated the gravity field and carefully extended the tool toward the harmony crystal. The room was silent except for the hum of the gravity modulator and the crackling energy of the failing core. Jack carefully moved the tool toward the harmony crystal, deep inside the core structure. The blue energy sparked and jumped around but the gravity field kept it from touching the metal. 15 degrees to the left, said Engineer Kelly, watching the readings on her datapad, and 2 centimeters deeper. Jack adjusted the tool with steady hands. Sweat dripped down his face, but he didn't wipe it away. He needed complete focus. I can see the harmony crystal, said Jack, through the layers of energy and crystal. A small, bright object glowed at the center. It's definitely out of alignment. Just a few millimeters, but that's enough to throw everything off. Be very careful, said Liren, the young Vexari engineer. The harmony crystal is connected to all other crystals in the core. If it breaks, the entire system will fail instantly, Jack nodded. Chief Wright, ready with the dampening field? Ready, said Chief Wright, holding another device aimed at the core. If anything goes wrong, I'll activate it to absorb the energy release. Jack took a deep breath. Here we go. Engineer Kelly, count me down. 3, 2, 1. Now! Jack pushed the tool forward with exact precision. The padded end touched the harmony crystal with a gentle tap. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crystal moved slightly, shifting back into its proper position. The effect was immediate. The wild energy flashes calmed. The blue light steadied. Throughout the core, other crystals began to move on their own, pulled back into alignment by the harmony crystal's influence. It's working, said Chief Wright. The system is rebalancing itself? The Vexari engineers watched in amazement as their core, which they had believed would take centuries to repair, began to heal itself in minutes. The Nubari floated closer, their cloud forms turning bright gold with excitement. Commander Zelix's crystal body flashed with multiple colors. "Impossible," he said, but his voice held wonder rather than disbelief. "Not impossible," said Jack, carefully withdrawing the tool. "Just a different approach." The core continued to stabilize. Jack checked the time. 26 minutes since we started. We might actually finish in the 30 minutes I promised. Engineer Kelly was monitoring the systems on her datapad. Core energy levels rising. Stabilizers aligning. Power distribution normalizing. Throughout the ship, lights that had been dimming came back to full brightness. Systems that had been shut down reactivated. The ship was coming back to life. "There's still a problem," said Chief Wright, pointing to a section of crystals that weren't aligning properly. "That group is stuck." Jack examined the problem area. They need a different frequency. He adjusted the gravity modulator and aimed it at the stuck crystals. They slowly moved back into place. Commander Zelix approached Jack. "You have done what we thought impossible." "How? How did you know this would work?" Jack shrugged. "I didn't know for sure, but I fixed similar problems in our fusion cores. The principles are the same, even if the technology is different." "But we have been space travelers for 50,000 years, said Commander Zelix. "Our technology is far more advanced than yours." "Advanced, yes," agreed Jack. "But maybe too fixed in one way of thinking. Sometimes simpler is better." The last group of crystals clicked into place. The core hummed with steady energy, its blue light strong and even. The ship's computer announced in the vexery language that all systems were returning to normal. Engineer Kelly checked her timer. 29 minutes and 14 seconds. "You did it with time to spare, Jack." The room erupted in alien sounds of celebration. The vexery's bodies pulsed with bright colors. The Nubari swirled in beautiful patterns near the ceiling. Even Commander Zelix's normally formal demeanor changed as his crystal body glowed with warm yellow light. "In 50,000 years of space travel," said Commander Zelix, "I have never seen anything like this. A repair that would take us centuries, completed in less than 30 minutes by a species we considered primitive." "Not primitive," said Jack, "just different. We evolved on a planet with many dangers and few resources. We had to learn to solve problems quickly or die." Liren approached Jack. "Will you teach me your methods?" "They go against our traditional approach, but I see their value now." "Of course," said Jack. "And maybe you can teach me about your technology too. We can learn from each other." Captain Martinez's voice came over Jack's radio. "Cadet Reeves report. What's your status?" "Mission accomplished, Captain," said Jack, unable to keep the pride from his voice. "The alien ship's core is stable." "Oh?" "Systems are returning to normal." "Well done," said Captain Martinez, "all of you. The diplomatic team is ready to come aboard for formal first contact discussions." Jack turned to Commander Zelix. "This is just the beginning. Our peoples have so much to share with each other." Commander Zelix made a gesture with his crystal hands. "Indeed, the Galactic Concord has never encountered a species like yours. You will change how we think about many things." As they left the core room, Jack looked back at the now stable blue energy column. What had seemed like an impossible problem had been solved with human ingenuity and a willingness to try a different approach. On the way back to the shuttle bay to meet the diplomatic team, Jack saw many Vexery and Nubari. They stopped and made gestures of respect as he passed. Some of the younger Vexery approached to touch his tools and ask questions about how they worked. "You've become quite famous in a short time," said Chief Wright with a smile. Jack felt his face grow warm. "I was just doing my job." "A job that saved thousands of lives," said Engineer Kelly. "Don't downplay that." When they reached the shuttle bay, Captain Martinez was waiting with a team of diplomats. She looked at Jack with pride. "Cadet Reeves," she said formally, "on behalf of the United Earth Defense Fleet, I commend you for your extraordinary service today." Jack stood straight and saluted. "Thank you, Captain." Commander Zelix stepped forward to meet Captain Martinez. "Your young engineer has done more than save our ship. He has shown us that we have much to learn from Earth, despite our older civilization." This is how humanity has always advanced, said Captain Martinez, by facing challenges and finding new ways to overcome them. As the formal diplomatic talks began, Jack realized that this day had changed everything. Humans were no longer alone in the universe, and they had proven they had something valuable to offer, even to a civilization tens of thousands of years older than their own. 6 months passed since the day Jack Reeves fixed the alien ship. Many things changed in that time. The United Earth government signed a friendship treaty with the Galactic Concord, the group of 7 alien species that included the Vexari and Nubari. Earth was invited to join the Concord as its 8th member. Jack sat in a large room on the Concord space station called Harmony Point. The station orbited a neutral star at the edge of Vexari space. Jack wore a new uniform with lieutenant bars on the shoulders. After his work on the alien ship, he had been promoted directly from cadet to lieutenant, skipping several ranks. "Lieutenant Reeves, they're ready for you," said a human aide. Jack stood and straightened his uniform. In the 6 months since the repair, he had grown a little taller and his face looked older. The events of that day had changed him. He walked into a huge circular chamber. Representatives from all 8 species of the Galactic Concord sat in rising rows around the room. In the center was a speaking platform. Jack walked to it, feeling the eyes of hundreds of aliens on him. "Lieutenant Jack Reeves of Earth," announced a Vexari speaker. "Hero of the Luminous Convergence and founder of the Joint Engineering Corps." Jack nodded to the assembly. He was still not used to being called a hero. To him, he had just done what needed to be done. Commander Zelix, now Director Zelix of the Joint Engineering Corps, stood to speak. His crystal body glowed with formal blue light. 6 months ago, this young human did what our civilization thought impossible. He fixed a quantum resonance core in 30 minutes. This act not only saved the lives of 3,000 Concord citizens, but changed how we think about engineering forever. The chamber filled with sounds of approval from all the alien species. The Nubari made musical tones. The Vexari flashed colors. The other species that Jack had come to know in recent months, the insect-like Tsari, the reptilian Drell, the plant-based Florins, and the water-dwelling Aquariol made their own sounds of respect. "Since that day," continued Director Zelix, "the Joint Engineering Corps has solved 17 major technical problems across Concord space. Problems that had existed for decades or even centuries. Using the combined knowledge of Concord technology and human ingenuity, we are entering a new age of progress." Jack looked to the Earth section where Captain Martinez sat with other human leaders. She gave him a small nod of approval. Next to her sat Engineer Kelly and Chief Wright, both now instructors in the Joint Engineering Corps. "Today," said Director Zelix, "we honor Lieutenant Reeves not just for his past actions, but for his continuing work. Lieutenant, please address the assembly." Jack took a deep breath. He was not good at speeches, but he had prepared for this moment. "Thank you, Director Zelix and members of the Concord. 6 months ago, I was just a cadet doing my job. I saw a problem and fixed it the best way I knew how. I didn't think about making history or changing relations between our peoples." Jack paused, looking around the chamber. "Since then, I've learned so much from working with engineers from all Concord species. The Vexari approach to quantum mechanics, the Nubari understanding of energy fields, the Tsari precision in small-scale engineering. Each species brings something valuable to share." He smiled at Liren, who sat in the front row. The young Vexari had become his close friend and work partner. Together they had solved many problems that neither could have fixed alone. Humans don't live as long as Vexari. We don't have thousands of years to perfect our technology. We evolved on a dangerous planet where we had to adapt quickly or die. This made us look for fast solutions, sometimes messy ones. But it also made us creative. Jack gestured to the human section. "We have much to learn from the Concord's advanced technology and thousands of years of knowledge. But maybe we also have something to offer, a fresh perspective, a different way of thinking." The assembly responded with more sounds of approval. The Joint Engineering Corps now has engineers from all 8 species working together. We solve problems by combining our strengths. What one species can't do alone, we can do together. Director. Zelix stepped forward again. Lieutenant Reeves speaks truth. For too long, the Concord grew comfortable in our old ways of thinking. We saw humans as primitive because they had only recently reached the stars. We were wrong. The director's crystal body glowed with bright colors. The term Deathworlder was once used to dismiss humans as dangerous primitives from a harsh planet. Now it is spoken with respect. The conditions that shaped humans also gave them strengths we lacked. Liren stood and joined Jack on the platform. We have exciting news to share with the Assembly. The Joint Engineering Corps has solved the mystery of the ancient beacon, a murmur went through the chamber. The ancient beacon was a massive structure discovered decades ago, built by a species that disappeared millions of years before. No one had been able to activate it or understand its purpose. Using human mechanical techniques combined with vexillary quantum technology, said Liren, we have activated the beacon. It is a vast communication device designed to connect with similar beacons in other galaxies. Jack nodded. The ancient beacon builders left messages for whoever would find their technology. They were explorers who sought to connect species across the universe. Their final message speaks of a greater community beyond our galaxy. The assembly erupted in excited sounds. This was the biggest discovery in Concord history. Director Zelix raised his crystal hands for quiet. This discovery would not have been possible without the new thinking brought by humans. The Deathworlders have shown us that different perspectives lead to greater understanding. Jack looked around the chamber at the representatives of 8 different species, all working together. 6 months ago, he had fixed a ship. Today, they were opening communication with other galaxies. The universe is bigger and more wonderful than any single species can understand alone, said Jack. But together there's nothing we can't achieve. As the assembly cheered, Jack thought about how far they had come. From a crashed ship that seemed beyond repair to the brink of intergalactic communication. All because humans and aliens learned to combine their different ways of thinking. Lieutenant Reeves, said Director Zelix, the Concord High Council has approved the mission to the Andromeda Galaxy to establish contact with other species there. We would like you to lead the engineering team for this mission. Jack felt a mix of surprise and excitement. It would be an honor, Director. The mission leaves in 1 month, said Zelix. The ship is being prepared now. As the assembly ended, Jack was surrounded by friends, human and alien. His life had changed completely in just 6 months, and now he was heading to another galaxy. Liren approached him. Ready for another adventure, Jack? Jack smiled at his friend. Always. There are probably plenty of broken things out there waiting for us to fix them. Together, said Liren, one tap at a time.